Does anyone else like it spicy? Because we're jumping into a game in progress here. We're casting a game today. Couple of folks in the community. We've got Mighty Kenry over on the Fremen, Le Handsome Geth on Vernius, Lennon on the Atreides, and Unfailbar over on House Ekaz. We're already on day 18 as we start here, and looks like we've got ourselves a standard Dune medium map, but some interesting terrain to work with. Look at this Ekaz nestled very nicely way on the edge of the map with some rocks around them. Let's start with the Ekaz. What do they got going for them? Ekaz being led by Unfailbar here. Super fast sanctuary up because this large mountain range next to their base. It'll actually be convenient. They'll be able to grab these two down south and make a second sanctuary right there very easily. If we look a little further inland, they have the worm nest in between them and the center. That looks like that ought to be theirs. Just above them, they've got the space cruiser wreck, another really excellent special region. First, Landsrad pops off. Nothing of note here. Water subsidies is sometimes a little interesting. Nobody's really close to getting in the middle. One of the best things you could do actually when water subsidies pop is if you're Atreides, you can peacefully annex the middle if nobody else goes for it. And everybody else is kind of a long walk away from it. You can peacefully annex it for no authority capture. I'd love to see that. Nope, it fails. The only thing we get is a truce with every other faction for the Atreides. But anyways, let's look back to our Ekaz friends here. They've got a spice up here, so they'll run 1 spice, probably 2 spice, probably 3 spice, probably 4 spice as the worm nest. So, whole lot of spice in Ekaz territory. We've got this great big desert next to them, which actually makes this region here a bit of a, what's the word? It's escaping me. A bottleneck, as it were. A bit of a bottleneck between the north and the south. And it does have energy sources. I would expect the Atreides to pick this one up. What do the Atreides got? They've got a Jessica and Yui, so they're not Paul, so they don't particularly care about the Fremen. Our Ekaz have Rivi Denari and Ebo Vip. Ebo Vip, of course, is mandatory. Rivi is an unconventional second pick, but you don't got a lot of great choices for Ekaz counselors, so you do what you could do. Looks like a lot of spice and even a lot of specials. Look, Worm Nest, even down south. It remains to be seen how aggressive the Fremen go, because the Fremen are sandwiched between 2 deep deserts. One that would run sort of adjacent to Vernius lands. That would be a tough surround. But this eastern and southern one would be a very reasonable surround because Ekaz is a little further off of it. So I would expect to see an emphasis on this surround, which then puts a lot of this other eastern territory sort of more into play for the Fremen as well. But we got Mount Idaho here. We got the Crescent Ridge here. Way down south, Moondew Vale, a lot of specials in this region. Shield Wall, Worm Nest. Like, if the Fremen just focused all of their efforts right on this part of the map, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 specials right here that you could kind of battle over if you just wanted to fight the Ekaz. Interesting terrain to work with. I would expect to see a lot of conflict in this area in the future. Let's rotate down to the Fremen. They've got... Like we talked about, these 2 deep deserts, easy 1 special here. There's not really any specials to their west. Way to the west there's Sandfall, but Vernius has already got their greedy purple hands on it. We do have a spice over there, but Vernius could start harvesting that already since their purple line is adjacent to it, so I don't anticipate a lot of westward expansion from the Fremen. There is a siege here, and we do like rare elements. Up towards the north, they should get an easy Shield Wall. Shield Wall is kind of a crappy special, but, you know, a special is a special. And then sort of unfortunately, the village on the Polar Sink spawned very far north, making it a little unreasonable for the Fremen to claim. But the Atreides are so far away, I don't know. It might be more of a Vernius village there would be my guess. I'm guessing the Fremen are going to focus on trying to get this deep desert surround and then maybe expanding eastward from there. We'll see. If we head... Oh, the Fremen are also playing Jamis, the sort of more aggressive. Units outside of Fremen territory inflict 10% more damage. 70 authority upon liberating an enemy territory. Definitely the aggressive pick. And Shamoom, who Kenry will defend, but I think is awful. Shamoom says if your village is making at least 12 water, then you get a blanket extra plascrete production and minus Solari upkeep globally. And villages will produce water if they have empty building slots. There's one here. He's got a Shamoom village there. Not there. Not there. I don't like Shamoom myself. I think Atreides have... Or not Atreides. The Fremen have such good counselors that... Shamoom is like Shamoom's got nothing on Stilgar or Mother Amalo, who are so good. Jamis so good. Anyway, over to Vernius. They've got Bronzo Vernius, which is more of their expansion, making authority reduced authority if they're expanding far away next to their purple line, and also Tessia, who allows them to do a little bit more with objectives and things. They did not go for the what's the guy? I can't think of his name. Bolig, maybe? The one who allows you to build out your main base buildings. We've got some aggressive Fremen coming up here. Where's Kenry going? Is he gonna cause trouble? He almost certainly is. This Fremen force would win this fight, especially because there's just some Suboids. Suboids extremely bad against Fremen. Really the only thing that could do anything is this railgun. And we've got the conflict kicking off already. Vernius, I don't know. You gotta just sort of run, my man. There's no chance of winning an early engagement versus Fremen. Vernius probably the weakest early game force, just because they can't really afford to field their drones. All they can really put out are their Suboids. And Fremen probably the strongest early game force, because warriors are just so powerful and well-rounded. Infiltrators do so much damage. Skirmishers also good against blobs, but that's not really relevant early in the game. But warriors and skirmishers, yeah, Fremen are just so strong early on. This is getting what looks to be pillaged, definitely attacked. He's not even doing anything with it yet. Maybe he's going for an aggressive annex over there. He wants that special region for himself? Could be. Vernius, certainly an easy bully target for the Fremen. He might see this eastern desert as a guaranteed surround, so he's not putting too much emphasis on it. He's working on shoring up his left flank here. We will see what happens there, but poor Vernius on the receiving end of that is going to be having a hard time. Vernius usually also does not invest in much manpower early on, meaning it's going to be real hard to rebuild the Suboid army. There's not a lot of money, and the drones are so expensive. You probably got to invest in drones at this point, just in order to keep pillaging or keep expanding. Fremen just hanging out there. They're not doing anything with it yet. They haven't decided what to do about that siege. Maybe they are thinking of an annex and they're waiting for more authority to do so. I am doing the Lord's work, says mighty Kenry. Excuse me. Second Landsrad pops out. Sisterhood involvement. Ikaz and Vernius would love extra agents. Everybody would love extra agents. Bene Gesserits are really nice to have. All factions gain faster military development speed or faster econ development speed. I'm being kneecapped, calls out Vernius. You harassing Vernius? Evil work. Robots don't have knees. Good chat. Good banter going on in the in-game chat. You love to see it. None of this is particularly important. Scientific Congress is kind of interesting, but strongly opposed by Ikaz and the Fremen. The minor houses and Vernius opposed economic tech, and minor houses say yes, everybody could have a Bene Gesserit. Alright, so no strong opinions on the Landsred stuff yet. Vernius definitely in a spot of bother with a Fremen army way far from home, about 3 or 4 regions out from their siege. They're going to have a hard time. They're gonna have a rough go of it. Let's examine some of the terrain they're working with. You know, it would have been real nice for Vernius to sit on Sandfall. Sandfall, and it was a liberate over there. Okay, I wonder why it wasn't showing me. A liberate over here on Sandfall takes it out of Vernius' hands. Thanks to Jamis, hands a little extra authority over to the Fremen, and now they've got a long walk back to safe territory. They could always stop and refuel here at the siege, or just pillage their way back home too. That's another way to do it. But eventually that means Vernius will be able to come back and grab Sandfall, a really strong pickup. Actually, it's Sandfall with a research station and Solari production per statecraft building. Very solid Sandfall. That would be a great region to have. It's a shame it just got liberated. Also, holding this region gives them access to the southern spice field too, but they didn't quite get around to that. We've got Railgun and one Suboid back online, trying to do a little pillaging, a little expanding. Any other special regions? They've got the Great Volcano above them. That's a huge pickup for Vernius. It's nice to keep it out of Fremen hands because it's super valuable for them. But even just the extra access to the fuel cells will be very useful for Vernius. It'll make them not have to rely on water quite so much. We do have 1 spice, 2 spice, probably easy 3 spice, maybe 4 spice, depending on what happens down south. But plenty of spice for Vernius to work with. We've got a well of riches to the east, but the village is very Atreides favored, so I'm guessing that's going to be more of an Atreides special there. It's starting to get a little far out from Vernius. They do have... I mean, the trouble, they've got a lot of junk territory around that they don't care about. The good news is you can use that as easy pillaging targets. The bad news is sometimes it's nice just to have good territory. I expect Vernius, once they get online, will have plenty of money. We do see, you know, some rare elements, a bunch of spice, some more rare elements. I think they're going to be hurting a little bit on the hedge because it's going to get hard to hold more than 2 specials, so we'll see what happens there. We've got some trade deals going off. Let's check the diplomacy. Research agreement and trade agreement between the Atreides and Vernius. Up north, our Atreides friends here, expanding backwards, but grabbing some good stuff here. We do have them touching tips over here with the ECAS. So they've picked up an early fuel cells, spice field, minerals. Back here they've got rare elements. Over here they grabbed another spice field, and now they're starting to look elsewhere onto the map. So a lot of decent specials, more rare elements, more minerals. They're going to have trouble with the proper special regions though, because they just don't have a lot they could grab. They could battle with ECAS over the space wreck down here maybe. This is very ECAS favored though, especially because ECAS here could just put a couple turrets right on the border here, or even if they take this, they could put turrets there. It's a nice little bunker situation. So what other specials could they look at? Well of Riches, I think, could easily be theirs. Also a little bit of a bunker situation there to keep it safe if they needed to, but I don't think it's in any danger from Vernius. They ought to be able to get themselves the Imperial Basin. And then they would have to expand westward quite a bit and probably come into conflict with Vernius if they wanted to get their hands on the Great Volcano. But really it's only sort of 2 easy special regions for Atreides. And then they're suffering a bit. They're going to have a hard time being able to project their power down south to deal with the Fremen, which they might need to do. And I was incorrect about the Fremen. Look like they are headed west to secure some of that western territory instead of focusing on that deep desert surround. I'm guessing they'll get to it eventually, but not the early game focus that I thought it might have been. I don't super love this territory for the Atreides. 1 spice, 2 spice. 2 spice. Maybe just 2 spice. We'll see if they want to. They might tussle with the Vernius to the west unless they can grab that before they get there. It might be a little tricky. I think the Atreides are going to suffer both in hedge and a bit on the economic side. We could take a look at some of the early quirks they've got to work with. Nothing there. Manpower, Solari. a little like 20% extra resources on this region, which is nice. It is strange that he's got a rare elements here and he has not built a processing plant yet. That's a bit of a blunder. Get your processing plant up ASAP if you've got rare elements. You need that cash flow, my man. Although they're doing just fine on the cash flow currently. Buck 92. They are pretty hard selling into a substandard rate here. 1.7 is actually quite a bad rate. Rates, of course, fluctuate from 1.5 up to 2.5, so a 2.0 is an average. Below 2.0 would be below average, but they're doing okay. Spice income, they're making a ton of spice right now. I'm guessing they've gone pretty heavy in the economic tree. They beeline straight up to Atreides foreman. Interesting. So they're trying to lean into the economic play. Fremen have gone into fast valuable trinkets, fast outpost logistics. So they're going very expansionist, not investing in the military tech, counting on just their base military being strong enough to carry them through things. And that seems to be the case so far. Another Landsrad pops up. Private mandate for pillaging. Everybody but the Atreides would like that. Landsrad, investigation doesn't matter at all. Infrastructure control is a huge one for early in the game. This is really, really nice for building out your districts and your main base, building up your infrastructure in all of your villages. This is a big tempo boost for just about anybody who could get it. And Atreides are sitting on the most votes. I'm guessing they're going to snag this for themselves. Ekaz have withdrawn from it. They don't think they're going to get it, so they opted for the extra. House Atreides given the bonus pillaging thanks to the minor houses. I'm surprised that Vernius didn't dump some points into this. They could always really, really use the money from extra pillaging. Likewise for the Fremen, too. They do a fair bit of pillaging. This passes, and Atreides get that one. Okay, so Atreides we'd expect to see building out. Atreides might have a decent econ tempo going then. They would really love, this deep investment into Chome tech, really. Atreides foreman really pays out the longer that you have for crew working on a harvester. It says, I'll read it for you. After successfully paying the tax, every harvester with a full crew gains a plus 15% gathering rate permanently, up to 3 times. So you got to pay the tax 3 times. Tax is every 20 or 25. It might be 25. Every 25 days, I think. So you need like 75 days to ramp up, 2.5 months to ramp up to full power. So they would really probably love to get like a peaceful annex going over on this village here to be able to snag that before the purple people eaters get their greasy fingers on it. They want more spice. At least I certainly would if I was them, but they're going to be stuck on 2 for a while unless they're able to get this one. We do see the Fremen starting to grab a little bit more territory over here. Ekaz being fairly cautious in their expansion. Usually I would expect 2 Sanctuary Ekaz to be out and about even a bit more. Maybe it's just getting expensive because their strange placement here is sort of a more distant. They have not gone for the fast outpost logistics, which makes it a little bit more expensive. They've gone a little bit into Manichean propaganda is an interesting early pickup. I wonder why they did that. A little bit of each. I like an early diplomatic maneuvers because it gives you the fast house gifts. That's fine. Cultural tourism's fine. They got a couple of quick sanctuaries that solves their water problems. Really allows you to do trade agreements. Have they got any trade agreements going? Yes, they are trading with the Atreides. The Atreides, of course, have Jessica, meaning the Atreides treaties have no authority upkeeps. Typically, for every treaty you have with someone, you have to pay, I believe it's half an authority per day in order to upkeep your treaties. But not if they've got Jessica, so it strongly incentivizes everyone to make deals with the green folks. I love that siege behind me. Me too, says Canry, very ominous. The siege behind him, but behind Vernius, is a plus 10% Solari production. It is a very nice one. There's sieges all over the Fremen or the Vernius lands. There's one right here, plus 50% max health. Anyways, I got distracted. I was trying to look at quirks. This is a pretty decent one. Yeah, all right. But now goes up the processing plant. It's going to get itself a nice 40% thanks to the extra investment offices. Over here, oh, this is a pretty decent one too. Part of your plascrete as money, and it's on minerals, so extra plascrete turn into money. That's not bad. Another extra 10% here. A little bit over here. Nothing amazing in the quirk department. Atreides fast building some military stuff up front. I don't think that's necessary. You don't need a missile battery. You don't need a missile base here right now. Ain't no way in hell Vernius is coming to bring pain to your doorstep. And by building it early, you really, this is 9 Solari a day. This is 11 Solari a day. You're investing 20 Solari a day, plus however much plascrete this is. And you just don't need it now. I would just put those resources towards other things in your empire. Vernius are not an early game aggressive faction, and certainly not when they've got Fremen already bullying them. You are 100% safe from Vernius right now, Atreides. Maybe keep your eyes on the Ekaz over here, who have a tiny bit of an army. What are armies looking like right now? 39 Fremen, 41 Vernius, 35 Atreides, 44 Ekaz. Okay, Ekaz has 2 knights online. Also a little unusual because knights are such a high upkeep, 20 Solari a day. Mind your upkeep, folks. Early in the game, you want to be sort of skating as low as possible. Atreides have a lot of money, though, and they are getting their base built out, probably thanks to those infrastructure protocols. Not a lot over on Vernius. They've got a spice lab up, but it looks like they might be struggling a bit economically here. They are low on money. They're sitting on a decent chunk of plascrete, but it's just been hard to get their money back up, as far as I can tell. What have they got here? Yep, they've been investing in drones. So you can see they've got fighting mechs, they've got railguns, there's even a resonance drone in here. Drones are expensive. Each drone is 500 Solari, something like that, right? Other people are paying in manpower, which is actually quite a bit cheaper even if you do the conversions, but the Vernius army is very expensive to build and upkeep, expensive in Solari. And they feel like they need it because they got to keep an eye on this troublesome Fremen who have gone ahead and completed their deep desert surround. The heir of Arrakis, control deep deserts, grant neighboring villages quirk effects applied twice more, 20% more militia power, and just a blanket plus 20% authority production per controlled deep desert. Any good quirks that they're going to take advantage of down here? Here they go. Again, 100% of your water production as Solari times 3, plus 60% resource production, and there's just a single wind trap. It's only a 4. If it was a 5, it would have been perfect. But it's making 12 water and 36 money. That's not too bad. Over here, also, again, taking advantage of the Shamoom. If he can sit at that 12 water, then Shamoom is giving him even more plascrete and Solari upkeep reduction globally. Here we've got a whole bunch of extra research hub bonuses, which are duly getting buffed up by the desert and leaning into from Kenry. Economic production, yeah, nothing super exciting about those. I think this is my favorite one that just gives you water and money. We got a pause. You need pause? Lags? Nope. Okay. No, they're okay. Another lands right up. Could be more expensive unit upkeep. Could be loss of standing. Could be minus spice. Who do we think the minus spice exchange rate's going to go on? Ekaz have the most votes, though I don't know if they feel strongly about it. Let's take a look at the Chom market. Atreides have bought up to 10%. Ekaz have bought up to 6%. Nothing from the Fremen. And 5 token shares from the Vernius. Nobody exactly running away with it economically. We did get support for everyone paying twice as much for military upkeep. Not support opposed on losing standing, and the Fremen, courteous of the Atreides and the Ekaz, get controlled markets for a minus spice exchange rate. Fremen are on... They don't have one there yet. 1 spice, 2 spice... Just a 2 spice Fremen at the moment, though they could easily be a 3. Vernius managed to pick up Sandfall again, and it looks like they're going for an annex over here that'll give them the rare elements, but it'll also allow them to have another bunker situation, right? And of course, when we say bunker situation, we mean you build missile turrets here, you build missile turrets over here. Because they're close enough, the missile turrets can cover each other. So it's sort of like having twice as many missile turrets defending both of your villages. Makes it a much stronger defensive point. You know, if the Fremen come in here and they're sieging this down, the missile turret from your other village can be shooting at them. You can have your army in the second village kind of poking at them, forcing the Fremen to like come out of the safety of their siege and attack a second village just in order to like be left in peace here. Makes it a much stronger defensive situation rather than just you know, a single village living on its own. Fremen headed north. Ikaz are going to need to grab this worm nest sooner or later. I'm sort of surprised they haven't put a little more priority on it. Fremen see it now and are going probably to pillage, I would assume. Though, honestly, I wouldn't even be shocked if it was an annex. Did the Ikaz want to start a war over it? I would if I was the Ikaz, but you never know. Fremen can be a little intimidating early on. It's just a pillage for now. Atreides still cautiously expanding. I'd like to see a little more aggressive expanding. Grab Wind Pass over here. Get this other spice under your control. Right now gotta pause. Right now the Vernius are taking advantage of it. They are on 1 spice, 2 spice, 3 spice. It's gotta be more than 3 spice. 4 spice. No, just 3 spice. Because this one got taken away from them via the Fremen. So just a 3 spice for Vernius, though the Atreides could take this one, and they should. I think players having a little bit of lag. They're trying to sort out if everybody's okay and to continue here. Ikaz wandering around with a decent-sized army. Still everyone right around the 35-45 limit here. Fremen doing a lot of pillaging. Atreides hanging out. They're shooting. They're shooting some rebels. Are they actually going to grab it, or are they just practicing? Looks like maybe they're going to grab it. No, they're backing off. They're just farming some XP. So this is sometimes this is something you see from the Atreides because they can't actually pillage things, and because their armies often love XP. We could even take a look at their armory. I don't think they've picked it up, but all of their units have this option for the Prana Bindu initiation, where experience levels grant extra health. Experience levels grant extra power. Experience levels grant extra power, right? So Atreides like a very high experienced force. You can see there's a little experience. You get a certain amount of XP for killing stuff. Units gain more power and health when they defeat opponents. But because they can't pillage really to get that, sometimes they run out and they'll just kill the militia and they'll go back home. They'll run out and they'll kill the militia and they'll go back home, kind of thing. Just to sort of farm a little bit of XP for your army, get guys leveled up. Where'd the Fremen go? Fremen are on a worm right now, riding to who knows where. I think they might be picking a fight. We do have a garden up there, but Fremen look like they are jumping right on top of the Ikaz, and Ikaz are in big trouble here. Bad engagement with their musketeers caught behind, and there's just a much larger Fremen force. 2 musketeers down, disengaging in okay order, but there's no defenses in this town that will stop the Fremen from just running roughshod over them. And we did see the heavy Shamoom investment means there's a ton of water for this Fremen force. They're going to continue to clean up the Ikaz. Ton of water, 49 water for the Fremen, meaning that they are not in any concern about supply. You know, and they're going straight in on the Ikaz town down here. Fremen on me, says Unfailbar. Yep, Kenry's being a bully. He's bullying the lobby here. Not a lot of Ikaz can do about this. Getting their army wiped puts them at the mercy. 28 a day is okay manpower. Actually, they're making the best manpower in the lobby right now, so they ought to be able to rebuild before too long. Oh no, their stockpile was low though. They're only on 92. They're not even building any more men yet. They're just sitting at 0. Fremen have free reign to do what they want. What's going on here? This is getting liberated. I imagine we might have a couple liberates coming through. Will they go for the garden? So attacking the garden means it costs you Landsraad standing and authority. Obviously the Fremen don't care about Landsraad standing, but they kind of care about authority. Where are our resources at? They're sitting at 175 authority right now. They may leave the garden alone here, but they're going to come through here and pillage. I mean, I did predict some eastern aggression from the Fremen. A lot of choice territory over here. The Ikaz are going to have a real hard time stopping the Fremen from taking whatever they want. I would love to see maybe a little revenge for... We've got a decent chunky little Vernius force. I wouldn't hate to see them come and maybe try and clear out some of this westward Fremen stuff. But Fremen, of course, with the sandworms can jump in a sandworm and ride anywhere they need to. But sandworms are finite and they take a long time to rejuvenate. You know, your hidden thumpers, to call your sandworms. It takes a long time to get them back. So if you can force the Fremen to sort of ping pong to opposite sides of their empire, you can wear out those hidden thumpers and prevent the Fremen from being able to respond to threats that are very far apart. They don't have the advantage of airfields, where you just hop on a shuttle and fly to a different part of your empire. Vernius rather aggressively coming up here to grab the basin. Now, if I were Atreides, to me, that's a bit of a declaration of war. We'll come back to the Landsraad in a second here, but that is the only, because of this mountain region here, that's the only way for the Atreides to have access to the middle of the map. So you're basically saying that, Vernius is basically saying, hey, if you want to go anywhere or do anything, Atreides, you got to go through me. And, you know, it's hard to read that in a way that is not picking a fight. Foreign recruitment comes up. Boy, this would be good for ECAS to have it. I would like to see ECAS prioritize this one right now. They're going to need the manpower. Imperial missionaries would be good for anybody. Imperial audit would be good for everybody, except for Vernius. Or except Fremen, rather. Okay, ECAS do prioritize that. Good thinking. You need that manpower. Solari per controlled village, that's a nice pickup for the Vernius. It's a good money infusion, and the Landsraad does pass, giving everybody a bit more standing, pushing everybody up into the high rankings. Vernius finally has some money to work with. They could make some more men if they want to, and they are doing the annex here on the basin. Pretty aggressive, if you ask me. Atreides just sitting back. They're not starting any fights, though I think they ought to. They're gonna need... They're not in a great strategic position. They don't have the territory to just sit back and relax, right? You need a number of special regions. You need to be sort of cooking some hegemony in order to sit back and relax. And the only one who's cooking are the Fremen, currently at plus 11. I'm guessing that's like one single craft workshop up down here. Has he got other specials to work with right now? Not yet. He's only one special on the Fremen, but two specials, because he just grabbed this one to the east, but still he's adjacent to 1, 2, 3, 4 untaken special regions, so there's a potential for a really big hedge boom. Fremen on 14k, 3 or 4 above the... I guess Vernius almost at 12, but boy, the access to so many of these powerful special regions, and really only sort of ECAS is able to fight over it, and ECAS is not able to fight for some time. It really looks like Mighty Kenry has got some choice territory to work with, and I think this lobby is ill-prepared to deal with it. Do we have war here? I think... Well, this got peaceful... Okay. The peaceful annex looks like it went off. And war. Okay, good. You gotta assert your boundaries, Atreides. This is a bad fight for the Vernius. You gotta get out of here, Vernius. This is a chunky Atreides force here. Atreides up to 62 command points, 31 on Vernius. It's a distraction. Vernius getting torn apart by these very, very tanky Atreides force. Atreides fully erect militarily. And they managed to completely wipe out Vernius here, and they claim that third spice field. tad late. We're in month 4. I would have liked to see Vernius or Atreides focus on this even earlier to get, but he was expanding rather cautiously through this middle terrain. That's fine. So no more friendship between Atreides and Vernius. We've got war. We see a lot of speaking back and forth, a lot of discussion between the two of them. Probably something like Atreides says, "Hey, I need that spice field," and Vernius says, "No, you can't have it." And Atreides comes to take it. And then usually the way it goes is someone says, "Oh, well, that's all I wanted. I won't fight you anymore." And the other guy goes, "Oh, I don't know. I need something back." You know how these things go. That would be my guess. Meanwhile, Fremen just pillaging everything in the map. They could really just ravage the Vernius lands. I don't think they know yet that the Vernius has no army at all. Completely wiped. Sitting on 21 command points once they finish building. ECAS is built back up to 30 of 45, but now everybody's starting to get their red tech online, and they need the military propaganda, really. They're a little ways away from it. They're just not going to be able to compete on command points. Everybody else has prioritized getting their red tech up. This is certainly the time for, or well past the time. Anything notable tech-wise? Not really. I would say notably our Vernius colleagues are not very far along in their tech tree as you would like them to be. Only making 31 knowledge. Meanwhile, the Fremen are making 32 knowledge. More than Vernius even. It was a rough start. That early wipe by the Fremen army really slows you down quite a bit. And maybe they just don't have the regions really to the villages to facilitate a lot of extra knowledge. They don't have a good build for knowledge going on. Tough times in Vernius land. Getting picked on by the Fremen, picked on by the Atreides. Now the Fremen one was just mean, but that's sometimes how Fremen roll. But the Atreides one was necessary. Atreides needs access to these regions to the west. Vernius very rudely took this special here, really giving the Atreides no option but to fight them. They could go... I mean, honestly, the Atreides are in a decent spot to bully both of their neighbors because both of their neighbors had already been pre-bullied by the Fremen, softening them up for them, as it were. So we got a big chunky Atreides army. If they want to, they could march east, grab a 4th spice field here, and there's very little that ECAS could do about it. They are rebuilding, but their force is got nothing on the Atreides one. 36 CP for the ECAS right now, up to 62 command points for the Atreides. The Atreides have gone with Duncan Idaho, who is honestly these days really the meta pick now. Gurney got nerfed a little bit, has sort of fallen off. Duncan got buffed quite a bit, adds some much needed killing power to the Atreides army. Plus Duncan is just cool as hell. So I think we're in the age of Duncan, the age of Idaho. Donkey Idaho, as it were. We've got Chani up on the Fremen, so opting for the more of the stealthy first strike sort of bonus. We've got Kater over on Vernius. Kater mostly known for being able to stealth non-mechanical units at short range. So a Kater army often has a number of the fight engineers who can repair the drones around them, but then be kept stealth by Kater. He often has the opportunity just basically to sort of one-shot an enemy unit with his skill. It turns him into a little mini assassin. Fremen hedging like hell. We did have one more special region picked up by the Fremen. Plus 20. I wouldn't say like hell. This is pretty standard. I think the rest of the lobby is just a little behind. Chome contracts comes out. Everybody likes free Chome shares. Statecraft is not going to be too impactful. I don't think anybody is leaning into the political sphere too much. We don't see any triple blue districts that would give you extra base votes. Everyone's sitting on pretty decent but comparable chunks of influence just because there hasn't been really that important stuff to spend it on yet. Gear regs, of course, goes on the Fremen. ECAS and Atreides. Atreides don't even care, but they're happy to just throw it on somebody else. Statecraft developments do pass, so less statecraft speed and free Chome shares. A round of Chome shares, garçon. we're seeing the Fremen are leaning back into a heavy economic tech build. Fremen actually have a ton of tech because they have so much knowledge right now. 32, 35 on Vernius, 22 on Atreides, 21 on Ekaz. Everyone's got a lot of knowledge. And I feel like they're not really... I guess, okay, there's a research agreement. We do have friendship again between Vernius and the Atreides. Non-aggression pact, trade agreement, research agreement. We do have Atreides and Ekaz, trade agreement, research agreement, non-aggression pact. I don't think you need to do that. I think you still kind of want to get out and about and get a little bit more done, Atreides. You need a little bit more Lebensraum back there. Where is our hedge total? Atreides sitting on 12k hedge, right? Way like 4k behind the Fremen, not making any daily. It currently looks like Fremen's game to lose. At some point in the not too distant future, the lobby is going to have to realize the gravity of the threat and see what they could do about it. And then we get back into the trouble of Atreides not having access to the middle. I would like to see the Atreides, and they can't because it's devastated right now. I would like to see the Atreides peaceful annex the polar sink. I think that would be a big win for them. And honestly, they do need the Imperial Basin. What would be a great combo would be Imperial Basin, polar sink, and then you have another little bunker situation right here where they could defend each other. We'll see if this friendship, this newly forged friendship between Vernius and Atreides hold. Vernius is just in a tough spot, and I don't see a future where they don't continue to get bullied by somebody. I guess Fremen have everything they want from Vernius, except they could go up and, pillage them for money, liberate them for authority. We could continue to see further eastward expansion from Fremen, though they currently have most of what they want. They can sit back and just let that daily, hedge accumulate. Lennon says, I don't see my win con, and that's true. I don't see your win con either with your current territory. So your win con, my friend, is getting aggressive. You got to get out there. What if you just beat the hell about Vernius? What if Atreides says, I need the territory, it's just total war against Vernius? I assume that they're the 62 CP army. I guess Vernius is back up to 65, so they have rebuilt, though it's an interesting army comp. 9 railguns. Would be pretty squishy, but some decent damage output. If the Atreides just go all war in on Vernius, you could take this special, the Great Volcano there. You could take this special, Imperial Basin. It probably also gives you access to the Polar Sink there, though the Fremen are looking like maybe they want to take that, or at least they're keeping it pillaged. But you just need this land, right? Because this weird mountain and desert and sort of the awkward spot over here, I think this would be maybe tough to crack, though it would also be reasonable if you really value this Vernius friendship for some reason. Maybe you're counting on them to fight the Fremen. Then you got to get something else, right? You need more special regions, and you need your daily hegemony cooking as soon as possible. Nobody else has it. Plus 30 on the Fremen, nobody else. No valuable trinkets on Vernius, none on the Atreides, not even close on the Ekaz, right? The daily hedge is so important, right? There's a finite amount of hegemony out on the map for the taking, and an even more finite amount of what is, reasonable or practical for a person to take. But then there is an infinite amount that you could generate by your craft workshops. So the sooner you get your craft workshops up, the sooner it pushes you into a more and more likely position and in the end game where you might only need to snap up 1 or 2 territories from your neighbors to suddenly be in a winning position. Do we at least have research bases up? Okay, we got a research center up for the Ekaz, 1 up for the Vernius, and 1 up for the Atreides. Atreides are fully built out. 5 military districts. I think you got to fight, Atreides friends. I think you got to fight. They are pillaging sieges, which is good. I would definitely probably This one over here, yeah. If you're gonna pillage them all. Keep the Fremen out of your backfield, but the win con for the Atreides is getting aggressive and picking on your neighbors. This chunk of terrain just doesn't have what you need to win the game, so you got to fight. I know that you're the diplomatic guys, but you got to take more. The Fremen have everything they need to win right in their sphere of influence, and they are not at all shy about going and beating up someone else. ECAS really want the worm nest. It's gonna come off of devastated right now. We've got hidden thumpers, meaning sandworms to this region don't consume thumpers. The Fremen are gonna come up to contest this. They need to get onto open sand, plant their thumper, hop on their worm. They're gonna ride up and give the ECAS hell. I think this is probably trouble for the ECAS again. 54 command points, 58 command points, so it's reasonably close. But a worm ride. Whitmore is sitting out there. Okay, here we go. We're in. Chani's already chilling out here. A much better engagement for the ECAS. Are they going to be able to fight it okay? They're doing pretty good. They're trading quite well, actually. They got 2 quick pickoffs on Fedaykin, and Fedaykin are really dangerous for the ECAS because they pierce through the heavy armor that the ECAS rely on to survive. I think there's a decent chance the ECAS might take that fight. Infrastructure control out again, always good. Lands rat investigation, always irrelevant. Private mandate, always sort of nice to have, but no big deals. But look at this, we had 2 big pickoffs, and instantly the Fremen force is looking a bit thin. I think the ECAS ought to be able to clean this up. I don't know if it was just the barrel cleaner musketeers, but they gunned down a couple of those Fedaykin right away. We've got war banners here to buff it. We've got Whitmore here. We've got a couple of 3 knights. Yep, ECA's looking real good. They're gonna hold us no problem. Okay, all right, finally, the lobby strikes back, and they get a little bit back on the Fremen. Not just a free rein for Kenry to waltz around and do what he needs. Now, don't get eaten by worms in the worm nest. We are getting an annex here on the worm nest. Very good. Fremen army half dead. More like all dead. You did good there. Unfailbar just about wiped him. 5 Fedaykin in production, but he's down to 1 warrior, 1 skirmisher, 1 Fedaykin. Chani did escape there, but a strong showing from the ECAS force. They had a good, they did a good job of pulling back to, literally to the high ground, though there was nothing particularly helpful about that high ground. They did have a military base there. Their missile turret and stuff was way down south, so that didn't help. But just being able to present your melee units up front, your range units in the back, take out good target choices, took out the most dangerous Fremen units right away. It was a good fight. But Fremen rallying straight to that siege there, and we've got 5 rabid Fedaykin jumping on stuff. And unfortunately, the ECAS army is a bit split now. But they're still going to be able to clean this up. Hopefully not lose their champion in the process. Live, champion! He does live, and he's got 11 trophies to show for it. Nicely done, champion knight. Whitmore himself didn't clean up any trophies. Some sneaky Fremen in the backfield working to try to liberate there, but the quick reaction from the ECAS are going to be able to hold it. All right, I like to see it. ECAS fighting well. Atreides are bored. They're starting to just annex the junk garbage territory around their base. I would actually leave that empty, my man. It's not going to provide you any sort of economic benefits. If you need to take some junk, go take this at least energy sources up here so you've got some more fuel cells. We can have peace, Fremen, your choice. No, there's no peace between... what was it? There's no peace between lions and men or lions and sheep. What was it? That's from Troy, where Hector and Achilles are battling outside the walls. That's a fun movie. I'm a big fan of the Iliad, and Troy does a decent enough job. It's entertaining, at least. It's not like an incredible cinematic masterpiece, but it's fun. And the battle between Brad Pitt, Achilles, and Eric Bana, Hector, outside the walls of Troy is an excellent fight scene. Just go look it up on YouTube. Pause this video, go look it up, watch that cool ass fight scene, come back. I won't blame you. It's a good time. I like it a lot. Something about there are no pacts between lions and men. It's a great line. We do see the hedge tracker pop up. 20k for the Fremen now, but we know they can bleed, and when there's blood in the water, the sharks start circling. We've got Vernius crossing the lines. Still a rebuilding phase for the Fremen, though they are rebuilding right over by Vernius, I will say. They're rallying to the west and marching to the west. They're gonna see what they could do to defend it. We do have a bunker situation here. A couple of missile turrets in choice position to defend. Also a military base. Vernius are going in, or Fremen are going in. I think Vernius might be in trouble here. Their heavy composition of the railgun drones are going to get chopped up pretty badly. They are not focus firing well. They're shooting the militia while these Fadakin are grinding through them. They're doing okay just due to their numbers. They're picking up this fight engineer. Where's their hero? Did their hero die? The fight engineer is supposed to be invisible. You know, their superior numbers managed to clean it up. We do get a second round of troops trained by, excuse me, a second round of troops trained by the Fremen, but they're going to need even more. And here we see the bunker, right? That second missile turret can continue firing in, causing trouble here. Even the militia are running over to fight, just sort of making life difficult for Vernius. Vernius are going with the Liberate here even. We'll see if they're able to hold this. We do have more units being trained. So I anticipate 5 more units pop out here for the Fremen, and they're going to be able to walk down here and probably clean up Vernius with that army. Ikaz are behaving in the east, though they ought not to. Go down and take the Crescent Ridge from the Fremen. We did have a forward peaceful annex by the Atreides. I do like that. You got to get out in the map and grab some stuff. Get this polar sink, Atreides. Get it while the Fremen are busy. Are they going to worm over? Yeah, they're worming over to get their little Idli Alakrab. He pops off an EMP bomb to debuff them and is going in. Vernius, pay attention. Make sure you're fighting. You're not fighting. Get your troops. You got your fighting mechs in the back. You're not picking your targets. Oh, it's a distraction. He's getting destroyed. All of those squishy railguns got targeted by some of the Fremen AoE and just annihilated. Yeah, tough one. So what do you do there if you're Vernius? If you're Vernius, you need a bit more melee. You need a bit more of the resonance drones because the Fremen forces are so heavily melee based. You like to be able to burn them down with that lightning shield. Unfortunately, a lot of your railguns are just sort of meat for the Fremen who can jump on them real quickly. You need probe setup missions in order to make sure you can see stealthed units in the area. You keep popping your probes in the region so you could see when the Fremen are coming in with worms. You need to be able to make sure that your battle lines are correct. Ikaz grabbing just neutral territory here. Atreides hanging out, just doing the Atreides peaceful playstyle. Fremen are rebuilt. We've got another Landsrad coming up. Fremen are very tapped in manpower right now. They're spending a lot to regen, but if they got wiped again, they would struggle. It'd take them some time. Does anyone know how to claim a reward if it's bugged? No resolve button. Like a point of interest? Usually if there's, I don't know. I've never seen a bugged reward. We do have Eye of the Council up. Eye of the Council is a great pick for both Vernius and Ikaz, but I'm guessing the Atreides are going to grab it for themselves. We've got 200 votes for the Fremen, but okay, Ikaz does have their triple blue up now, so they've got quite a bit of voting power. And weirdly enough, the Atreides could have easily grabbed that, but opted not to. So Vernius gets it almost for free. Diplomatic Congress, all factions get truces with each other. And Vernius gets a minus spice exchange rate. Anything going on in the Cho market? 15% for the Fremen, 13% for the Atreides, 3% on Vernius, 7% for the ECAS. So not a lot of Cho movement, but a bit for the Fremen. What do our resources look like? Everyone's making pretty decent money. Vernius and Atreides and ECAS basically capped out on manpower. Not a lot of water to go around, but Vernius has some. The water totals for the Fremen are looking a little low these days, down to just 15, which means they're not going to be able to just rampage through other empires with impunity, but they already have their own empire sort of solidified. They did take Mount Idaho to the east here, and it's getting fortified and getting its craft workshop up. We need to see a more aggressive ECAS, and they need to be coordinating with the rest of the lobby for additional aggression as well. Fremen coming up, probably to pillage the Polar Sink, just to keep it out of anyone's hands. Oh, and the Atreides are peaceful annexing it, but they're not going to get it in time. 2 days left. Atreides, go fight them. Go fight them, Atreides. They can't even see him because they're all stealth, but now they'll see him. Oh, day and a half. I think, okay, yeah, so the Atreides peaceful annex does not progress when it's being sieged by someone else. I think those might be frowny faces from Lenin. You gotta go fight him, my man. You gotta try to put that army to use. You got a ton of manpower. Even if you all die, you're sacrificing for the good of the lobby. You can't just let these Fremen run rampant again. ECAS, you want a good fight? Get out there and force more fights, right? If you've got some momentum, you win a fight against the Fremen, you go fight the Fremen more. You also just need a lot more territory, right? A lot of this is, what I would consider ECAS territory by rights. Just because the Fremen have it right now doesn't mean that they should keep it. Fremen are expanding wildly to pillage everything they could get their greedy fingers on, just assuming that no one's going to jump on them. We do have a Vernius force here, but I think everyone's still at peace thanks to that one accord. And it looks like the Fremen are going to get away with some mass pillaging all of the lands that really Vernius ought to be pillaging. Vernius, because you're so Solari hungry, you like to be emphasizing a lot of pillaging. And the middle did not even get annexed. We actually have a harvesting caravan from the Fremen just sitting on it to maintain it. It didn't get pillaged. They're not going to annex it because it would be a 500 cost, and I'm sure they don't have that. No, the Fremen are sitting at 151. They're just sitting on the siege perpetually to keep anyone from doing anything. I'm guessing he doesn't want the Fremen, or he doesn't want the Atreides to pick it up. Vernius thinks it's suspicious, so he's coming in to shoot this donkey caravan. The Atreides see their opportunity. They're coming over. Just aggressively annex it, my man. Just take it aggressively. You've got plenty of authority sitting in the bank. Go over there and take it yourself with the military might. You don't need to do the peaceful annex. Do the unpeaceful annex. Still forces way in the backfield of Vernius doing those pillages. And, if the Fremen pillage a village, it means Vernius cannot pillage it. So he's taken money out of Vernius's pocket here. Do we have anybody else making passive hedge? A little bit. Okay, everyone's starting to get in the passive hedge game. Fremen are way ahead, though. Way ahead. Is this a fight? A little bit. Vernius is being very cautious about this fight with 3 or 4 Fremen units. Fremen scattering like rats in the sand. Like little Muad'Dibs jumping through the sand. Hiding along the edges. Peaceful annex going down again on the Polar Sink from Atreides. That is good and just. They should be doing that, but that alone is not going to be enough for them. They're so far behind. They needed to be cooking way earlier. They're only at 17k. Meanwhile, Fremen have a 6,000 hedge lead on them. Everybody's sort of sitting at 17. You guys got to take more special regions away from the Fremen. Every moment that you wait, things get worse. We also don't have an obfuscate out yet, so the Vernius has the ability to spend 20 Landsrad influence to obfuscate a single researched development and make that development have no effect for any faction. So the typical, one of the traditional uses you see of this is if Vernius is behind in the craft workshops, the daily hegemony, you will often see valuable trinkets get obfuscated, meaning that nobody's craft workshops will work anymore. We haven't seen that yet. It does make the game quite a bit longer, and the longer they wait, really the more benefit that the Fremen are getting out of it. It's hugely Fremen beneficial right now. Can we see their hedge totals? Is there a way to tell me how much hedge they get from things? Yep, so craft workshops have currently made over 2,000 hegemony for the Fremen. 300 for Vernius, 300 for the Atreides, 400 for Ekaz, right? So it's just a flat 2,000 hedge lead, just printed out of the thin air, because the Fremen have access to more special regions and put more emphasis on getting their craft workshops going earlier in the game. So, as you pay your spice taxes, every time you pay your spice tax every 25 days, everybody's going to get 1,200 hegemony for free as long as they pay their spice tax. So it's pushing you towards that 30k end game, and the Fremen have a huge, huge lead going into it. Speaker of the Council is up. Excuse me. Ekaz would want it. Other folks will have to work a little bit to keep it away from them. It's not critical for Ekaz, but Ekaz, if they want any chance of getting to a governorship kind of victory, need some sort of charter somewhere. We'll see what people think. Speaker of the Council goes to the Atreides. I'm curious why Ekaz didn't even try. Maybe they need something here. If you want to govern, and governorship is upvoted. Now the Atreides and the Fremen are eligible for it. I feel like the Fremen are probably not going to win that vote. They might actually. Between the two of these, the lobby might vote in the Fremen, and that would actually be the correct choice. Renegade base getting cleared by the Fremen over there. Vernius, I wonder, he's just been sitting on the exact same territory, I feel, for a long, long time. Why? He's maxed out on his authority. Sure, you want to snake your purple line around, but you also just need more territory, brother. Start taking some of this stuff. You're getting to the point in the game. Are we? Oh, never mind. We're attacking the Fremen again. All right. Well, I can always appreciate that. A big chunk of Landsrad Punishers passed. 5 Landsrad Punishers for Vernius. Punishers are low attack speed, high power units. They're ranged. They have decent hit points. It's kind of low armor. You don't want them in the front of your army. I'd like to see a little bit more micromanagement on the army for Vernius. Try to make sure your range units are in the back, your fighting mechs are in the front. Also, especially when you're going in against multiple missile turrets, you usually want to move a unit up closer to them to act as sort of the tank for the missile turrets, because the missiles do AoE damage, area of effect. If they're shooting into your big blob of units, they're hurting your big blob of units all at once. That's mitigated a bit because you've got a couple of fight engineers healing everybody up, but they're not healing up your Landsrad Punishers, your nice free new units. Okay, we've got the Ekaz striking to the east, Atreides chilling out up north, but looks like the Fremen are going. Fremen army decimated. Oh, did we miss a battle? I'm sorry. Decimated sounds extreme, says Kenry. We do have losses in the Fremen. Looks like they lost about 20 command points, and maybe 10 or 15 went down for the Ekaz. ECAS are capping a special. And we go Atreides. Go. Do it. Take the shield wall. It looks like the Fremen are going to rebuild to their army here at this siege and then probably jump in on Vernius. I agree with that. I think Vernius is probably the easiest army for them to beat right now. I think it looks like they're having trouble dealing with the ECAS forces. But we've got this guy. I didn't see what they're doing to it. Being liberated there. Annexed for the ECAS in the east. And the Atreides are now jumping on to the shield wall in the north. A lot of missile turrets around here. Although I do like this play. Atreides identified that there were no militia here, so they ran over to siege that base down. But he got pulled off right away because he wasn't paying attention. Fremen jumped on the Vernius in the west. Vernius looking like they're doing a better job of it this time. Do they have their hero out? I never see their hero around. Is their hero getting in fights and getting killed maybe? Oh no, it looks like maybe he misclicked and drew the militia out. That's not going to do him any favors. He's doing all right. Looks like he's probably cleaning up the main Fremen army here. I haven't seen the Vernius hero in some time. Was he down there and he got picked off again? He's invisible. You don't need to get him picked off. Pay attention to him. He could just stand. He could stand invisible next to your fight engineers, invisible, and just heal everybody up and just provide some benefits that way. Though it is a sound Vernius victory, I think they're going to get that annex or that decap off. ECAS annexing the regular territory around it. I like that play. Good job, ECAS. This is just a liberate from the Atreides up north. So a liberate from the Atreides, maybe a liberate from Vernius. We still have Fremen sort of poking in along the edges. I gotta think, their manpower looks fine. They just don't have enough time to get their armies rebuilt. So the Liberate does go off to the west. Atreides have backed off to the safety of their village while a single warden liberates here. That's dangerous. I would go and reinforce him just to make sure that that goes through. Or even better, I would make that an annex. 175. Maybe they're just a little too expensive. Oh yeah, 364. So he's got nowhere near enough authority to actually annex it. He's coming in to try to make sure the cap goes off. I think he's just sort of struggling to deal with this missile battery blasting away at people. He doesn't want it hitting his whole army, which is fine. We've got a chunky ECAS force. Credit to Unfailbar, who's sort of leading the resistance against the Atreides here. I wish we would have been paying attention and caught that first fight that put the Fremen on the back foot. We did have a worm over here, but too late. And the Liberate goes through. Now that's not the worst thing in the world for the Fremen. They don't like to lose this in the east, right? Because this is now going to get fortified and it's going to be difficult to take back. But these two regions that just got liberated via the Atreides, via the Vernius over here, those will be easy enough for the Fremen just to come back and take at a later point, right? They're sitting on 160 authority, making 7 a day. For them, retaking this is 170, retaking this is 200. Not outside the realm of possibility. Another 10, 15 days, once these just, really in 20 days, once the just freed debuffs, saying cannot be targeted by an attack, once those debuffs fall off, the Fremen can walk right back in and re-annex those in a day or so. Kenry is arguing that Vernius is now the villain due to champion hedge. Do we have, 12 trophies on that musketeer. Go over, Landsrad. 3 trophies on Whitmore. I don't see a knight champion. I'm guessing if there was a knight champion, there was earlier, he must have gotten killed in the struggle with the Fremen that we missed. Back in the Landsrad, governorship is online. Also Imperial intelligence, meaning that someone's got some infiltration cells out and about. Kenry says you gotta vote me into governor unless you fancy your chances of killing Atreides. That's true. When it is between someone like Fremen or Atreides, you vote in the Fremen because they have such little political power, they won't be able to defend their vote or their position, right? Governorship comes up now, and all you gotta do is upvote it a little bit, and it'll come up again next round, or loss of rights will come up. And so you give it to the Fremen, and then you kick them out of it the next time the Landsraad comes around before they win the game on governorship. Ooh, but the Atreides pick it up themselves. That's interesting. Why did Ekaz not expend anything there? That is crazy. I agree that's crazy, Kenry. Atreides, I mean, there's a lot of votes for Ekaz. They will... Vernius says he just forgot to vote. That's valid. I've been there. Ekaz is sitting on a massive amount of influence, so I would expect them to be able to kick the Atreides out. But the Atreides are stockpiling 15 a day, so they'll get an extra 300, so they'll easily be up to 800 votes or so. So probably the lobby will be able to kick them out. Who knows what could happen, though? What have they got as far as tech? So they're trying to pick up more blue tech now. Landsraad support and maybe even insider trading. I don't know, have they got any chom? They do have chom, so insider trading would be huge if they could get to it. And they do have it queued up. Insider trading says you could sell chom shares to grant 1 influence per share. It ignores the cooldown and the max influence total during the Landsraad Council. Oh, he's not going to get in time, though. He's not making enough knowledge. 11 days to pick up Landsraad support, 22 more days to pick up insider trading. If he had insider trading, he might be able to sell off all of his chom and secure the governorship for the final boost there. Very interesting. We did see Mount Idaho abandoned by the Fremen and now getting annexed by the Vernius. Is someone being assassinated? Atreides can bump it more than I can because of main base buildings. You will lose otherwise. Ekaz farm and hedge. Yep. People talking. Landsraad quarters going. So the Atreides... Oh, here we go. Savvy play. Atreides are paying to buff up the water cellars, but Kenry is trying to make sure everybody else put votes into upping the priority of the Dune governorship. And now it is getting upvoted. People are seeing the danger. Fremen and Vernius are dumping into it. So because the Atreides are the Speaker of the Council, they can cancel loss of rights from coming up. The only other way to get them out of Dune governorship is for the Dune governorship charter to come up again for vote. And the Atreides are dumping all of their influence into upvoting the Water Sellers Union, which they've done hugely. They need Ekaz to invest sooner rather than later, like immediately. Kenry's right, it's more expensive the longer you wait. 1.2k on the Dune governorship, 1.3k on the Water Sellers. Ekaz still has a ton of influence. He's got to spend it. Spend it to promote the Dune governorship, Ekaz. Pretty please. Kenry shouting in chat, Ekaz! More. You need more. If this charter doesn't come up, the Atreides are just going to win. And nobody is militarily pressing in on the Atreides. The Atreides are sitting back at their base. They're seeing what they could do. Put your auto buy on it. Okay. The Ekaz have finally invested a decent chunk of their influence bank, and governorship is now at 1.6k in the priority, over 1.4k for the water sellers, and the Atreides are very likely not going to generate enough influence to be able to bump water sellers up. Kenry wisely being able to lobby for the lobby to do what they need to do. It's not always clear the interaction of governor and Landsraad politics, of what players, especially maybe newer or inexperienced players, what they need to do to prevent the governorship from happening. So now Dune governorship, because it is the most upvoted, has the highest charter priority, this will come up again for vote in 6 days. Atreides still needs 16 days to win governorship. So the lobby will be able to use their votes to elect someone else to be the governor rather than Atreides. Or if there is no one else eligible, then they can just decline governorship, make it go to nobody. So they should be okay there. They look fine. Atreides was very savvy upvoting something else, and then, but not quite enough. Not quite enough. I believe they ought to be kicked out, which then puts it maybe back in an ECAS villain arc. 2.4k hedge for the ECAS, and they are feeling it. They are marching in on the Fremen, and there is not... Okay, the Fremen do have a large force, and they are worming over. We're going to try and battle. And they got a really good engagement right on top of the muskets. It's looking very Fremen and favored. What we needed... ECAS are a little late dropping down the Elika fog, but it's not going to change this one. They're getting wiped. What you need to do, my ECAS brethren, is anytime that you're fighting the Fremen, you need a probe operation. Again, we mentioned it before. Espionage. The probe setup reveals all information and units in the region. You got to probe the regions that you're in when you're against the Fremen. You need to see those stealth units, even if they get eaten by a worm there. You need to see those stealth units. You need to be able to position your army properly. You can't let the Fremen begin the engagement by murdering all of your ranged units. We do have the Atreides up north taking advantage of the chaos, though, looking like they are picking up the worm nest off of the ECAS. ECAS looking quite a bit less dangerous with their champions all dead. They dropped about 2k hegemony from that. Alright, ECAS, or Atreides, taking advantage of it. Loss of rights is up, but Atreides being the speaker can reroll that. Dune governorship is up. And the only other person eligible for the governorship are the Fremen. So the lobby needs to vote the Fremen into governorship. Now the trouble is, the next charter that's going to come up is almost certainly the Water Sellers Union. But I'm pretty certain that loss of rights is like coded to come up automatically, which the Atreides should allow to happen and then kick everybody out of their charters, which sort of destroys the Atreides' political ambitions. Because there ain't no way anybody's getting more charter priority than 1.4k thousand on the Water Sellers Union. And if someone has the... You got an AFK 1 sec for a pee break for the team. If someone has the governorship, you can't just vote them out of it. You have to vote the other person into it. Because the Fremen are also eligible for the Dune governorship, you have to vote the Fremen in or leave it with the Atreides, and then they win the game. So you vote the Fremen in, and then you'll need loss of rights to come up and pass to kick the Fremen out the next time. And then that's going to clear everybody's charters, except whoever wins Water Sellers next time. So I guess if you were still trying to angle for some sort of governorship win, maybe as ECAS, maybe as Atreides, maybe that's the play. If you're ECAS, you aim to win the Water Sellers that comes up the next time, and then after that, you can maybe have a chance at the governorship after that. He might have insider... Yeah, Kenry's true. He might have insider trading. He doesn't, though. He didn't get there in time. If he did, he would be very dangerous. The Fremen have won the Dune governorship. A couple of assassins for the ECAS. And this was actually an interesting one. Water regulation is kind of devastating towards people's... hegemony plans, which passes via the ECAS. So if we take a look at our resources, Vernius is sitting on a bank of authority, but everybody else is in the negatives. Ekaz has a little bit to work with, but 20 days of sort of negative authority means there's much much less chance for annexation in the near future here. Atreides or Fremen grabbed that one. Are they going to be able to get this one? Maybe not. Fremen are not going to be able to complete the shield wall annex. So it looks like we're here. We're in here for a while. We're going to be here for a while. This annex is going to go down, moving the worm nest over into the Atreides column, which is going to put the Atreides slightly on top for hegemony. We're seeing 51 a day for Ekaz, which is really quite good. 29 a day for Atreides, 37 a day for Vernius, only 11 a day for the Fremen. I would not count the Fremen out of this. We did have the Ekaz army wiped. The biggest... We got to kill Fremen now, can't bring Governor back up again. Yeah, you guys would be okay, because Governor will come up on... Or loss of rights will come up to kick the Fremen out. He says, but I want to kill. Yeah, so we expect to see a loss of rights come up to kick the Fremen out of governorship. I think we're just sort of hanging out here for another month or two. The water regulation is actually going to be a big problem for the Fremen. They're going to just end up with their authority stockpile bottomed out, right? Water regulations costing them 11 a day. It's costing the Atreides 15 a day. Both of them would love to have a bit of an authority bank in order to do some last minute annexations, but they're going to be totally broke on authority, you know, and it's going to, for 12 more days, they're going to bottom out at 0 authority, and then they're going to need another month to build that authority back up in order to annex anything else. Spice, 21 days on a tax, so we're nowhere near spice tax. I think we got a lot of time. Go kill him. They're trying to argue that they need to go kill the Fremen. I don't think they need to. I think the Fremen are actually in sort of an unenviable position here. And by voting up the governorship, they're probably just helping Ekaz. So here's what I see happening. I see loss of rights passing. Loss of rights will come up. It's going to pass. It's going to kick everybody out of their options. But the Ekaz has a lot of political power. As long as they're careful, they ought to be able... Water sellers will come up at the same time as loss of rights. Ekaz can claim water sellers for themselves. They don't have political art yet. They really probably should. They're going influential plots. They're trying to assassinate somebody. And it looks like infiltration cells are on the Atreides, and then they just kicked it off. Ekaz are attempting to assassinate the Atreides, but we have savvy Atreides with 3 agents on counterintelligence. It's going to make it very difficult. But it's still fun to see. Atreides coming down. They want to fight with the Ekaz here. They don't like this, but little do they know that this doesn't really mean anything. The Fremen are a month plus, maybe multiple months away from being able to annex this. We've got a battle, but it was a really strong engage from the Fremen right in on the range units of the Atreides, and they're getting cleaned up. Time to run. It was your past time to run, Atreides. That was a strong engage by the Fremen, and they're cleaning it up. To the west, we've got something under siege by the Vernius. Getting liberated again. Oh, that's gonna hurt. It's gonna put some trouble on the Fremen. They're just not gonna have the authority they need for a long time to get these things back, especially if this gets liberated. Fremen are arguing that Vernius needs to take territory off of the Atreides, and they're not entirely wrong, though. the Atreides are also kind of far off because they're going to bottom out here at very, very little in the way of authority. It's going to take them a while to be able to annex something else. There are, however, lots of options around the map for peaceful annexes. Look at the last possible second mercenaries come out from the Fremen in order to clear off the Vernius liberate here. So that buys the Fremen a little bit more breathing room. To the east, there's a monument floating over, but it's mostly dead. That's gotta be a misclick. Wait, where'd that monument go? Was that a bug? Did he delete it? What the hell just happened to that monument? Did it blow up? I don't even know what's going on there. Come on, man. Oh, did we get a trinkets obfuscate? Yep, valuable trinkets got obfuscated. Alright, so that means it's going to be relatively slow. We do have more Ikaz assassins sneaking their way into the infiltration cells in the Atreides territory. So we have one infiltration cell here, one infiltration cell down here. Is there a third one anywhere? I don't think so. I think he's just going at it with two infiltration cells. It's going to be real tough. It is already detected at 38%, so it's going to be incredibly difficult to keep the Atreides from identifying and clearing out those. Speaker of the Council. Oh, he says 3v1. Did loss of rights not come up properly? Oh no. There's an assassination going on, so the Imperium Summit came up instead of loss of rights. Oh my goodness. I didn't even realize that could happen. I sort of thought loss of rights was hard-coded to always happen if someone was governor. But maybe Imperium Summit is also hard-coded to come up if someone's being assassinated, or maybe they share the same sort of weight in, you know, an option that's going to come up, and it could be random at that. Wow. So Kenry has 9 more days, and then he wins on governorship. I mean, it looked like the Atreides was looking through it, and he couldn't obfuscate it. Or did he mess it up? I don't know. He says OF. Did he forget to re-roll it because when he was Speaker of the Council? Or did he try to re-roll it and the loss of rights didn't come up? I don't know. It's unclear. We didn't see what he was seeing there. Well, Imperial Summit passes. We do have gear regs on the Fremen. Are this herd of cats able to rally enough to blow up Siege Tabor in 9 days? I think the answer is no. You see all of the Fremen are walking back to the Siege. He has gear regs on him. Do people even have enough water to walk that far? Only 11 water on Ikaz, 36 on Atreides will be good, only 13 on Vernius, but Vernius has drones. All the Fremen have to do is defend. And it looks like he's moving up to a forward spot. You know, ideally you want to jump on an army before they can all, you know, coalesce on your base at the same time. He's sitting in sort of, and now the Fremen army is invisible too, so the other players don't know where they're at. We see Vernius being a good lad, coming straight in. Atreides coming, marching down as well. Ikaz coming in from the east. All right. 3 days have already passed. Only 6 days left. There's no time for forward bases. No time for this, lads. Not at all. You need to be like the Vernius and be marching straight at the enemy's main base. It's your only chance. 5 days is just not enough time. And we do have the Vernius jumps on the Atreides army while they're out front. Decent engagement for the Atreides here. They ought to be able to trade okay there. Vernius trying to pick up a village. There's not enough time. 4 days left. admin burden on the Fremen to keep them from rebuilding. It does look like they're getting the better of the trade here. Load everybody up into your shield, into your Kraken. Don't fly back home. You gotta fly toward their base. Get the wardens in it too, everybody. Just take a Kraken full of troops down. You gotta help Vernius here. Ekaz, you gotta help Vernius. It's not enough. Liberate. Liberate ain't doing it. Liberate ain't gonna do it, son. You need some supply drops. Vernius has the right idea. They're on the base. That's exactly what needs to happen. They gotta be wondering where the hell everybody else is. Atreides went back home. Ekaz liberating. Yep, it's just not quite decisive enough play from everybody. 2 days for governorship is going to be Mighty Kenry on the Fremen, the new governor of Arrakis, duly democratically elected, the Fremen. I love democracy. Mighty Kenry pulls it out. It was unclear what happened in that Landsrad, right? Imperial Summit came through. Did he forget to re-roll it? Did he re-roll it and it was not a loss of rights on the re-roll too? I don't know. But the lobby was clearly banking on loss of rights to come up, and loss of rights did not come up. Fremen are able to clean up that Vernius army back home. The Atreides and the Ekaz, too far away, can only sort of lick their wounds. Nobody has any authority to do any sort of last-second annexes because of that water regulations came through, bottoming out everybody's authority buckets. And there we go. There we have it. You don't often see a Fremen political victory. I bet that one might be a first for you guys. Developments. Most developments for the Fremen, even above Vernius. That is unusual. Our Vernius friend definitely struggled. He didn't have great territory to work with there, but never got up to the heights of knowledge that you really need for Vernius. Knowledge drives everything for Vernius. It drives your military, it drives your economy, it drives your your tech and everything. It really has an effect all across the Vernius playstyle. So you need to pump those knowledge numbers as high as possible, as soon as possible, and we didn't quite get that. Solari production. Maybe I'm wrong about Shamoom. Look at this production, big money coming out from the Fremen there. They weren't able to turn it into a whole lot. They had some shares that they eventually sold off in order to get money that they then sold out. I'm guessing that was probably invested into mercenaries. At that point in time, maybe 29.4. That's weird. What did he do with that money? Did he have... Maybe he was selling shares for votes? I don't know. I don't know what he did with that money, but at some point he went broke there. And then ECAS started to make more money. Territory-wise, Fremen looked really good, and they had... I think the Fremen were still in a pretty good spot going into the end game there, as far as being able to sort of annex stuff. But everybody needed another month or so to rebuild their authority. Everybody was making quite a bit of influence too, which makes it all the more surprising that the political dynamics went the way that they did. Fremen started out very strong. We see them wipe the ECAS, we see them wipe Vernius, but eventually they got in trouble here, they got picked up, they got wiped, Vernius got wiped, Fremen wiped, ECAS wiped again here, Atreides wiped here, right? It was back and forth actually. This is some early Fremen dominance. They had a real rough mid-game, and then they had some pretty decent late-game dominance as well, actually, to defend their lands. And turned it into a governor victory. You love to see it. GG, folks. Fremen governorship. Hope you enjoyed that one, and I will see you again soon for some more spice on Arrakis. Take care of yourselves.